Welcome to another episode of the Bear Trap on the Boom and Bust channel, a Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host, Terry, and today is going to be something that I'm sure a lot of fans have been looking for, and that is grading Mitchell Trubisky's season. So as I start to reminisce on this past draft class and wanted to start talking about that on my draft show, I decided, hey, why not start with the hometown team and the guy of the hour with Mitch Trubisky, or Mitchell as he likes to be called. So number one, I want to throw this out here. This Jared Goff comparison is very annoying. If you've listened to my episode so far, you know this whole copy the Rams thing is very annoying to me. But on top of that, one of the reasons people keep saying copy the Rams is because they're comparing Trubisky and Goff. They're saying, you know what, both quarterbacks look real bad or whatever their first season. We want them to turn around and just be really good. Okay. The number one thing I'll say to that is I was confused at first because a lot of, at the beginning of the year, Goff was doing pretty good. And I'm just like, okay. And then he stayed doing good. And a lot of people were just clamoring. And I couldn't understand it because as a person that does the draft, of course, I watch rookies and I monitor, top rookies and all that. And for me, I remember, I'm like, if I remember correctly, Goff barely played last year. I'm like, he came in, he got thrust in at the last second and played at the back end of the season. And so I never gave him a grade. Like, I do remember in the offseason, some of the talking heads talking about how much could you get for Goff if you traded him? He's a bust. You might as well, try to get a new quarterback. And I was just like, okay, typical stupid stuff on radio and TV. But I didn't realize so many fans had actually written him off as a bust, which is absolutely nuts. Again, this prisoner of the moment culture. But not only that, to write a guy off who didn't even play half a season. So that was weird to me. So anyway, I look back at it, and I encourage you people too, if you don't know, Goff played 7 games. 7 games as a starter. And everybody wanted to write him off because of that. That is absolutely ridiculous. But what's even more ridiculous is looking at the turnaround, which was still a turnaround, but the bar was set so low that, of course, people were absolutely impressed with what he did. And people forgetting, not only does he have a new coaching system, he had an entirely different line last year, an entirely different receiving core, where one of your top guys was Tavon Austin, who barely even played this year. And so to sit here and act like Goff has some flip around season just out of nowhere is absolutely crazy. So to think that the Bears coming back with a roster that's not completely flipped around and you're just going to get an absolute different product, you'd be pretty silly for that. So just throw that out there. Anyway, so let's get to the man of the hour, Mitchell Trubisky. Let's start off with some cons, shall we? Or actually, I'm sorry, before that, this is something I don't usually do, but I'll bring up the numbers. I don't really get into numbers, but if you want them, Mr. Trubisky has 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 2193 passing yards, and a 77.5 rating. Let's see here, in a total of 248 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. So he had 9 touchdowns overall. As far as passing, he had a 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. If you watch the season, I'm pretty sure you know those numbers weren't going to be that great, but that is kind of what we have. So on top of that, I'm also want to look at a bit at what I said about him last year coming out of the draft. I did give him a 4-star prospect out of 5. Said he had a high ceiling. I gave him a 4.5 out of 5 arm. Thought it was pretty strong. Some of the things that I didn't like is his accuracy against pressure. I thought that when his pocket was clean, he was very strong in the medium game, but when he had to move, his accuracy tended to drop a little bit. I also thought that he didn't read the field, or wasn't asked to read the field as much. I thought he was more of a 1 or 2 read type thrower. I did think his arm was very strong. I liked his mechanics, all those good things. But I thought his accuracy was much better, short to medium, with pretty good deep accuracy, but a lot of room to improve. And I did think that his velocity was such that he would really have issues in the NFL because his timing was pretty bad. I thought he was he trusts his arm a little too much. And so he would try to throw the ball at the last second instead of throwing it on time. So I thought that would definitely be interception city if he started going against corners, throwing late to the outside. And you saw a little of that in college, but honestly, that didn't happen much in the NFL. So as far as his cons and some of the negatives I saw from Trubisky, and a lot of this is systemic of the team and not so much him, but we did see that Trubisky, his clock was sped up a lot, meaning that he was quick to break the pocket sometimes. And I think that happened when you had an offensive line that was constantly rotating and not protecting him correctly. And one of the reasons I didn't want him out there is that he did start to move the play a little too quickly instead of letting things develop. And then also, I felt like he was really safe. And especially in key moments. There are times he took shots, definitely when he felt confident in the right play call, but you could tell on most third downs, third and longs or whatever, when we were behind the sticks, he really took the safe stuff, the check down stuff, the stuff that wasn't going to move the chains. And I feel like Trubisky as he comes off as a person and kind of the situation he is in, I feel like he is so worried about being, living up to this hype and taking the weight of being the number one quarterback that he plays not to lose instead of playing to win. And we all know that's the thing if you're a football fan, but people don't realize that gets ingrained in you really early on. And so, yes, he had one season. He played a lot of games, but that's something that you want to look for. So I feel like sometimes he was scared to take that shot, and that might be something that works against him. His accuracy is very inconsistent. I felt like in college it was pretty cut and dry. When it was a clean pocket, he was good. When it was muddy or he had to move, it kind of dropped. I honestly think watching him with the Bears, it didn't have to do with the pocket. It was all him. I think the situation or the throw he was trying to make, it really determined if his mechanics were off or not. And sometimes it'd be off his back foot or he'll drop his elbow when he's trying to drive the ball. But for whatever reason, his accuracy, it was wildly inconsistent. And that was something you didn't see in college. I mean, if you watch the highlights from the Bears, you would say, okay, Trubisky, yeah, he could rip it, and he can, but it wasn't always like that. If you watch the full game, we all know there's passes where the ball wasn't getting where it was supposed to be. But overall, those aren't a lot of negatives. Like I said, a lot of stuff comes from receivers that don't get separation, because his timing, he'll hold the ball and he'll try to extend the play. Now he'll stay in the pocket and make that throw, but sometimes it was like he's got to, be a little more decisive. But people don't realize that a lot of times that's because your receivers are not getting any separation. And a lot of people knew to squat and play man on us because they couldn't get open. So there's one thing. And then the last thing I think was a negative is that I feel like against the blitz, he's not as efficient as he should be. And don't get me wrong, any rookie is going to take time to acclimate to the blitz. Not even rookie, but, sophomore, 3-year. We see that with all these quarterbacks. But the thing is, I didn't see him get any better. It felt the same, especially teams like the Browns where they constantly blitzed and showed their hand that they was blitzing. I felt like he should have been better with his hot reads, and I just didn't see that from him this year. On the positive side, all the physical tools are there that we heard about. Like I said, when he's accurate, he's freaking accurate. His arm is very strong, and if you were watching the playoffs this weekend, you could very easily get a glimpse at what some of these weak arm quarterbacks look like. And I don't want to say they weak arm, but a lot of these guys can't throw it through the elements. And we talk about that during the draft, and it's just like a cool thing to say, but it matters. Like when it's windy, you watch Blake Bortles, Marcus Mariota, and Tyrod Taylor, that crap is not going anywhere. And so we've seen Trubisky throw with some serious velocity. We've seen him throw with some serious accuracy, but again, I already said it's not as consistent. His athletic ability, man, there's no question about that. He can move in a pocket. He can move downfield. He's a pretty good runner. I don't think he's just an effective runner. I think he's a really good runner, a lot better than I expected him to be. So you got that. And then, like I said earlier, his poise. He'll stay in the pocket and make the throw. You saw that in college. He doesn't panic in the pocket. When he decides that he's going to stay and make the throw, he stays and makes the throw. So all that you like about him. I think, so then talk about some things that potentially might scare me. And I said it before. He seems that in the moment, in the big moments, the key conversions, the drive to win the game, all those things, he doesn't go for the big play. He goes to play it safe. And that's something that's hard to get out of a person. And so I wonder that with a whole new regime in his second year, will he be able to turn that thing around? But also another thing that kind of worries me going towards the future again is this idea that he has to be the savior, and so it does make him play safe, but then I wonder if that's going to turn around and he's going to push too much. But that's something small. But the real thing that kind of worries me going into the future is how long will it take for him to become quarterback savvy? And some quarterbacks never get there. I know the narrative is Trubisky only played 13 games in college, and that matters. I don't care what anybody says. That matters. However, there's a lot of quarterbacks that play, 4 years in college and they never become quarterback savvy. And that's a product of who you learn under and all that stuff. But right now we see Trubisky with the little things. He's just not there yet. He just doesn't make the smart plays yet. And I'm not saying he can't get there. I don't know him, but from everything we hear from him and hear from other people, he likes to learn. He likes to work hard, but you can tell it's naturally not there. You can tell that Trubisky's wheels are turning when he's out there. And that's typical for a rookie. But on small things, when you get the offside free play, we talk about that. And it's more than once I've seen him just take an underneath shot. Like, come on, take the shot downfield. Or again, it's third down. You know how many times I've seen him throw behind the sticks on third down? It's like the small things like that. We seen it, on the rollouts, and that's kind of a product of him playing safe. But, once they start doing those bootleg plays for him a lot, he'll always hit the flat route, but you'll have a flag route downfield open, or at least, somewhere you could put it. And so he really waits until it's wide open. So I don't know, just some of the quarterback savvy things, the clock management, all those different things that the elite quarterbacks get really good at. We know what Aaron Rodgers does. We know what Ben Roethlisberger can do. We know Brady, all them. They take care of the clock. They take care of the ball, but they also know how to push the gas and be aggressive and manipulate the system. And that's something I'm wondering if Trubisky ever will get really good at. And that's up to the person. That's not the school you come from. That's not, how many games you played in college. That's just really up to the person. Now, some of the things that excite me, again, some things that show promise, he's a hard worker. You can tell he wants to work hard, and he likes playing football. The best thing you could always do Besides interviews, is listen to the mic up segments that they're starting to put out more and really get a sense of how they are out on the field. I think he knows what it means to be a leader. I think he's trying to earn it out there and not just expecting it to happen. So I have faith that he is really working hard to become better this offseason. It's not going to help that he's got a new system and, we don't have a coach yet, so it's going to be behind the 8 ball, but I do think he's working hard and he wants to do it the right way. I don't think he has a big ego or big head, and so that's good. And he's tough. He's an Ohio kid. He loves football. He's a gamer. You saw that in North Carolina. That's one of the things that people really liked about him. I think he loves this game, and he's going to he's going to enjoy the process of getting better, so I like that. So ultimately, when I look at Trubisky, I feel exactly how I felt when he was coming out of college, is that at his peak, he should become a better Alex Smith. And I say that especially after seeing what happened to him his first year, is that he definitely has a lot of athleticism, and people knew that about him. They didn't really know that about Alex Smith, so he used it to his advantage. But I still think he could use it. Trubisky could use it to his advantage. If you watch the playoffs, it was the who's who of the quarterback scrambling show. So obviously that is still well and alive in the league. So I think he'll always be able to use his legs, whether it's goal line read options, whether it's bootlegs, rollouts, all those good things. He'll be fine there. And he's very accurate, like I said, in the medium game. The reason I say he should be better than Alex is because his deep ball accuracy is already way better than Alex. It was good in college. The times where he had to make those throws this year, it looked really good. And I think we need the receivers, of course, to actually give him the targets. But once he gets to that level, I think he'll be fine. All this really hinges on his mentality and what the coach has put into him next. And on that note, I can understand why people really want the offensive-minded coach. But again, it's still got to be the right coach. You got to understand the kid and what works best for him. And I don't know the kid, so I don't know. But I can tell you that it's going to go one or two ways. Either he's going to become in that mode of defense does their job, keep us in the game, I take care of the ball, strong run game, play action. Or he's going to become, let's cut it up and go vertical. It's one or two ways. And I've always thought that his strength leads him to more of a West Coast passing. So it would definitely lend himself to becoming more like Alex Smith, But it could differ. We'll see. I think he could be Alex Smith with a lot more vertical game inside of him. And what you saw Alex Smith do early this year, that's what I kind of see Trubisky becoming if he's able to unlock his potential. So overall, as far as a grade on the season, and I hate to do these things so early, but we could look at a season objectively and say what we felt. I think given the circumstance, the number of games he played, the play calls, the staff around him and everything, I would give Trubisky a B-. I would give him a B-. I saw some things that are extremely encouraging, and we definitely saw some rookie things, and we saw a lot of things that showed us why we needed to get Trubisky into a new system, and hopefully we get the new roster to come along with that. So anyway, most important part about all that is what you guys think about Trubisky. All you fans out there, I know we got thoughts about Trubisky. Please go to the comment section. Let me know what you think about the year, pros, cons, grades, comparisons, whatever you want to talk about. Thumbs up, subscribe, share it around. Get all those other fans to talk about Trubisky. And thank you for listening.